Today, I would like to talk to you about my most recent personal therapy session, which was on the topic money. Welcome to my channel, friends and those ones who are new here. My name is Madara. I work in a Montessori classroom with children ages 6 to 12, and also I am on a journey to becoming a therapist. So I'm currently on a year-long training with Gabor Mate and Sadaram Kaur called Compassionate Inquiry. I'm gonna link it down below in this video so you can look into that if you are curious. So one of the how to call them requirements, one of the requirements for this year-long training is to have minimum once a month a personal therapy session, because this course brings out a lot in us and we need to deal with that in order to work with other people. We need to be as clean as possible. How they say on the course, we have to be like a mirror for other people, and therefore we need to be a clear mirror. So I am very lucky because I have how I call a girls group, my own girls group, women's group. We are 3 of us in that group, and we've been working together, I guess, for more than 3 years now, And what does it mean? It means that we would meet, let's say, sometimes once a year, sometimes twice a year, sometimes less times a year, and, for example, do detoxes. So-called detoxes. What does it mean? It means that we would meet 6 or 8 weeks in a row and work on different topics together, work through different topics together. And sometimes I go to them individually, and I call those times supervisions. And one of the course requirements, like I said, is to have at least one, how I call it, supervision a month. And so the most recent supervision that I had was, I guess 3 weeks ago or so, and it was on the topic money. And today I would like to talk about it and share with you what I learned, because I find it very interesting and I hope you will too. So a little bit about my background in terms of money. I come from a little village in Latvia, and let's just say that we were not the wealthiest family in terms of money, quite the opposite. So there are lots of things around it, and I've been exploring this topic for some time now, and every single time something new comes up and some other angle comes into light, regarding this topic. But specifically about the last session, I went with the question, and I will just check my notes just to be sure that I am translating it correctly. So I said something like along the lines, when I think about money and receiving money, immediately at the same time, I'm already thinking what I have to pay, to whom I have to give something, for example, a donation, or I'm sending money to my grandma every month, a little bit, to help her out. And there was this feeling as if I don't deserve it, like that there are other people, there are other organizations that need it more, so that I should give it away, I should give it, so because others deserve it more. And I will be fine somehow in terms of money, because it's true, I've always been fine somehow in terms of money. I have nothing to complain about, really. I have a roof on the top of my head, and I'm never hungry, thankfully. I have a doggy that I can feed, an extra mouth that I can feed. I have enough clothes. I can pay for my courses and so on. I can pay for the public transportation, sometimes rent a car and so on. So if I look at it from the fundamental needs perspective, I'm very fine, and I'm super, super grateful for that. But then, of course, as all of us, we want to grow, we want to experience more things. And one of the things that I would love is to establish a dog shelter one day, or an animal shelter, one day. And for that, I need more resources, right? So I started to think about these things, and I started wanting more money. And that's why I went and asked for help in terms of this aspect of my life. Anyway, back to the topic. So basically the point was that the moment I had not even when I had the income, it was when I was expecting an income, before it arriving into my bank account. I was already planning what I need to give away, what I need to give up, who needs more than I do, and so on and so on. And it is true, when we explored this topic on that therapy session, I really had in me a strong belief that I do not deserve money. And not to go too much into the details why, but just general idea is because I grew up in a scarce environment, let's say. I didn't see, we didn't have a car, and we didn't have lots of food. I had one set of clothes per school year, and there was just not a lot. And with time, I, as a child, started assuming and believing, oh, so because there's not a lot, I guess it means that I don't deserve, And in this last personal therapy session, we actually separated those two things, I was rewiring my brain and separating these two things, because in my mind, not having something equaled to I do not deserve. But actually, it's not true, If I don't see something, if I don't have something, it doesn't equal I do not deserve. And that was, at first, it was really hard to accept, that it's not, those are not equal things. But now, because the therapy session took place around 3 weeks ago, I am already more familiar and more accepting with this idea, and I feel how on daily basis there are situations when I strongly feel that no, but I do deserve, I did do the job, and I did do a good job, and I do deserve. So yes, let me check my notes just in case, because I think I do have more things to say regarding this, but I do not remember at the moment. So yeah, and I have written down here few examples how this belief I do not deserve showed into my life before. So for example, some years ago, I was studying a therapy method called timeline healing, and back then I wanted to practice on people, and I put out like a little advertisement, and I said, come to me, I would like to practice, and people did come. There were many people that came, and I was doing those sessions for free, because I assumed, okay, they need help, and who am I? I don't have much experience, and I should definitely do it for free. And within a couple of weeks, I felt so out of energy and drained, and I realized, oh, I'm giving so much. Actually, with some of the people, they were doing up to 2-hour sessions, I was holding the space for them and listening to them and guiding them up to 2 hours per session. And I started feeling out of resources. And I remember I had one girl coming to me, and she texted me. She said, look, lots of things are happening in her life back then, and she texted me and said, look, let's schedule another session, please. And I wrote to her and I texted her back. I said, yes, of course, I would love to work with you. However, starting from the next session, I will be taking payment for my work. And I don't remember really if I gave her a number or I said it is on a donational basis. I don't remember, but it was such an interesting situation because first of all, I was so scared to write it. I was so scared to ask for money for a payment for my work. And this message that I sent was so full of fear, that she didn't read the message and didn't reply to my message for the next maybe 72 hours, up to 72 hours. I don't remember exactly, and imagine all those hours thinking, oh my gosh, I did a bad thing. I shouldn't have asked. I'm gonna lose her now. And who am I to even ask for money? And so on and so on and so on. And so at the end, within, I think it was something around after 72 hours, since I sent a message, she replied to me, hey, yes, of course I can pay you, but maybe I don't actually need the session after all, because something else was happening in her life and I don't remember exactly the details. So what my fear did to this situation, I completely repulsed the money in a way because I was so scared of receiving it. So that probably the money said, okay, if you don't want me, I'm not gonna bother you. So yeah, and funnily enough, and then more situations like that happened along the way. But there was a similar situation that happened just recently. Let's say, I think approximately 2 months ago, and the first example that I shared with you, that was, I think, 3-4 years ago. And now that long, how to say, all those years later, now, a few months ago, something similar happened. I'm studying this year-long training with Gabor Mate and Sadaram Kaur, and I put out an advertisement that I need to practice. And in that advertisement, I was smarter a little than those 3-4 years ago. And in that advertisement, I said that I would like to practice on people on a donational basis, so not for free, that people need to donate something, it can be 5 euros, 10 euros, 20 euros, doesn't matter, but there needs to be a donation, for my work. So some people signed up, including one of my friends, and she came to me, we did a session, and she told me about this payment, and I said, yeah, just send me a donation, here's my bank account. And she said, no, I do not like to work like this. You think about it and you tell me your price. I'm gonna pay you what you think I need to pay for this session. So I took a couple of days. It was another crazy time in my mind. Mine was like, oh my gosh, I cannot ask her. How will I ask her? She's my friend and I don't know, and I'm just practicing and I don't deserve, and so on and so on. And at the end, I think within 2 days, I waited for the moment when I had when I felt strong and confident, because it's like ups and downs. One moment I feel confident and strong and I feel, yes, I deserve and I want this much for my work, and then 2 minutes from that moment I feel down again and I feel, no, I don't deserve anything and who am I to even ask for money. And anyway, I waited for that moment when I felt strong and confident, and I sent her a message and I said, okay, this is how much I want for our session. Guess what? she didn't reply to me, I think, for a week or so, or even more. And there is a reason why, because it was really crazy times in her life, lots of things happening. And with part of me knew it and understood it, but the other part of me was again scared okay, this is a confirmation I don't deserve, and who am I to ask? So anyway, it was so interesting because the week later she replied to me. She said, yes, of course, oh my gosh, sorry, of course I'm gonna pay you the amount you are asking for. And I've been completely, buried under stuff regarding family and a child and everything and work. And so I sent, and I laughed, I really laughed. I thought, oh my gosh, how the universe works, it will put me through these episodes and through these situations as long as I will doubt myself, and feel less about myself, feel lower than maybe I am, or than I deserve. So yeah, and those are two examples of before the session, and then after the personal therapy session on money, things started changing. So for example, in the past 3 weeks, around a month ago or more, I sent an invoice for my work, and it was not paid. It was not paid for more than a month, but because it was an invoice to a friend with whom I've been working with related to Montessori, I thought, I'm just too shy. I cannot ask her. How will I sound, writing her an email and saying, hey, you haven't paid my invoice. But it was 200 euros, and I really needed that money because I needed to pay some stuff. And again, I waited for a good moment, and I sent her an email. I said, hey, how did I said something along the lines like a reminder for that there is this invoice, pending and unpaid. And I think a couple of days later she sent me a message back. Oh yes, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I simply forgot. And then exactly the same situation happened with another invoice, and again it was not paid for more than 20 days. And again I sent a reminder and I said, hey, please remember to pay my invoice. And this girl, my colleague, she replied to me, oh Madara, I'm so sorry, I completely forgot. So there's me having all these crazy thoughts regarding how I don't deserve and how I will ask, and it's not polite and it's not nice, and all being shy about the money topic. And then there are those people on the other side who simply forgot to pay the invoice, and that's all. There's nothing to it, they're probably not even spending a minute thinking about me and my invoice. They simply forgot, and that's all. And it's my responsibility, to feel and ask for what I have earned, what I have earned. So yeah, so things are changing. And then I discussed this with one of my friends, and she said she a couple of years ago she went for some kind of a course related money, where you explore the money topic and you look into yourself and do the inner work related to this topic. And she said, I think I'm gonna go for this course again. It's been a couple of years and she shared with me an interesting information. She said, so there are 3 parts regarding money. First is working with the attraction of money, with receiving the money. So this is, I guess, the step I've been working on in the past years. Now, the next step is keeping the money on my account or in cash. Well, I guess this is okay. So I've been working on the first step and partially on the second step in the last year, I guess. How to keep the money, how to not to give it away and think I don't deserve it, somebody else needs it more. And then the third step is regarding money, multiplying money. And so that's a topic for another day. I feel that I'm not there yet. I first need to consolidate what I've learned. And even though I feel that my brain was rewired in that therapy session, it doesn't mean that it doesn't require work. On a daily basis, I need to remind myself to practice the new ways of looking at this topic and looking at myself regarding this topic. So it's an ongoing work. So maybe one day when I feel okay, it's very well established, the new neural pathways are there, and then I can probably go and explore the next level, which is about multiplying the money. Yeah. So I think I said everything I wanted to say in this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment, a suggestion, a resource that I can look into regarding, or other people can look into regarding this topic. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.